Every year that I've deer hunted, I've had the opportunity to see a large rack buck mature, a definite shooter, that's crossed on a path or an opening as I am going into my stand or still hunting. And because I'm not paying attention to my surroundings, I've spooked the buck without a chance at a shot because of one simple principle. It's what I call the 100-yard step. Now, the average human stride is between 2 and 2.5 feet. But sometimes when you take a step, it's the equivalent of 100 yards or even more. On private property, this most often occurs on mowed paths and places where there are huge openings that deer can see a long distance. These paths that are often maintained by using a brush hog or some kind of riding lawnmower make it a lot easier to get a deer out whenever you harvest a deer, but they can actually give you up to the deer before you even have a chance if you're not paying attention. Just simply realizing that mature deer, especially on private land, if you're not pressuring it, will move during daylight, and recognizing that every time you cross over a path with a large opening or you step from one path to the next, when you come to an intersection, if you will, if you make a conscious effort to recognize that and to stop, even before you get to the intersection, slow down, even hunker down, get yourself down on your knees and look, you just might be able to harvest a big buck without even getting to your stand. Last year, I had this happen 2 times to me, both on private land, and both of them during the month of October, really before the main part of the rut was starting. You might say, I don't hunt private land, I hunt only public, which is the case for me in Pennsylvania. I hunt public land, I would say 99% of the time. I don't remember the last time I actually hunted on private land. And in those scenarios, you may run into some mowed paths depending upon what your state does to the public lands, depending upon what the federal lands are like. Maybe it's a local municipality owned land and they may have mowing areas or areas that they've cleared out. But even if there aren't these paths, you still have this principle in play whenever you move from real thick edge into more open edge. This happens especially when you're going from perhaps a lot of undergrowth into a hemlock stand, or it might happen when you're emerging from a field into a wooded area. Sometimes that one step that equals 100 yards or more is more based upon the terrain you're on. You're cresting a ridge, and all of a sudden you can't see anything below you but that one step. Well, that next step is like 100 yards. Now all of a sudden you've just given yourself up to a deer. The better setup is to think every single time I come to an edge, whether it's a mowed path or it's a natural transition, I need to stop a couple of steps back from the edge. Deer do this all the time. And scope out the surroundings before proceeding. Even get your binos up and look around the surroundings. You just might be shocked at how daring some deer actually are, even on public land. So the 100-yard step hunting tactic, in a nutshell, can be put down into 3 statements. The first one is anytime that you're traveling on a mowed path on private land, or you come to an edge, whether you're on private or public land, make sure that you stop before you cross that opening, that edge. 2, find some kind of obstruction, whether it's a tree or tall weeds or grass or some kind of blowdown or some other natural object that's sitting in the vicinity of where you are, and kneel behind it, or at least use it to break up your figure, because your figure is not a natural figure to deer. And third, get your binos up and make sure that before you cross that edge, You're actually taking in your surroundings, looking at the potential of a deer being either in the opening or just off the edge of that opening, because that's often what they do before they cross. They want to make sure that the coast is clear. If you put this 100-yard step principle into play in your hunting tactics, you'll have chances at more bucks in the upcoming hunting season.